The relationship I had with Demon Slayer was not a good one. I dropped Demon Slayer with season 3, which was the Swordsmith Village arc, because the pacing was really not that great in my opinion, and I was watching it weekly, so I dropped it and never went back to the series again, even after Hashira Training Arc got adapted as well. Then came this movie, and so I told myself, you know what, how about I give the manga a shot. I binged Swordsmith Village arc and then Hashira Training arc to prepare myself for this movie. I just came from the movie theater right now, and all I have to say is I might be a fan again. To get things rolling, let me just give a quick little spoiler-free review of this movie. The way in which Ufotable really made Infinity Castle, at the very least this first movie, to be without question the best Demon Slayer has ever looked is absolutely fucking insane, bro. Every single expectation that I had from Mugen Train blows it out of the fucking water and then some. I watched this movie in sub on an IMAX screen, and good lord, the amount of times I tried my best to keep up with the subtitles, as the animation was one of those you blink and you miss it type shit. It was actually incredible, and I was just in awe multiple times throughout this movie. Then there's also the music as well, which sometimes I forget how Demon Slayer score, even though it is not the most, how do I word this, like the most replayable. Demon Slayer's soundtrack just knows how to fit in the moment. It does, and the music a lot of the time just felt very fitting to what was going on and felt very grandiose and just immerses you even more. There were a few moments where I actually recognized certain OSTs. For example, Rengoku versus Akaza, and that OST, there's like resemblance of it, certain portions in this movie and things of that nature. There's like a little motifs and stuff like that that does come back. The music was really goddamn good. Then the overall direction and stuff like that, like this movie just looked incredible, especially obviously with the Infinity Castle and the portrayal of this being an Infinity Castle. The fact that literally is endless, or at least seems that way. You feel that sense of like uncertainty, that sense of danger that just is never ending. You feel that with the way that the atmosphere is presented to you in this movie. I really loved the portrayal of it, and I can imagine that the manga with Gotoge, they try their best to portray that as well, but Ufotable really just took it upon themselves to just go balls to the walls with this, and it just feels so climatic, and it's supposed to feel that way. This is what this series has been building towards, so just from the moment the movie starts to move, it generally feels like this is the end game, and this is the start of everything, which just scares me for what the other two movies have in store. So overall, to kind of close this spoiler-free section, if you haven't watched this movie, please go ahead and do so. This is a phenomenal movie. Even if you're not the biggest fan of Demon Slayer, at the very least, you will appreciate how well put together this movie is, even if you might think that the story is mid, which I know some people have that opinion, but I genuinely think Ufotable really cracked the code with this one, and if the story gets better from here, then oh my god, we are gonna be sitting here what, 3 years from now, and we're gonna experience just peak shonen cinema, I guess, now that Ufotable is just all in with movies at this point in time. But yeah, please watch this movie. It is good. Now, with that being said, this is the spoiler section, so spoilers will be thrown. Okay, so, oh my god, I had a feeling Shinobu was dying. I saw this image on Twitter of this cosplayer on the ground of Shinobu. I had an idea that maybe Shinobu was going to die. But oh my god, I was not ready, nor was I prepared for how genuinely fucking brutal, even if it was brief, it's just depressing as fuck. Because I expected maybe Douma to get hurt, maybe Douma to get nerfed, maybe die. This man essentially walks from this fight unscathed. At least it seems that way for now. I'm gonna get into that in a second, but I thought Shinobu was going to do more. So the fact that Shinobu ends up dying the way that she did in this movie was fucking depressing and brutal, because I thought that she was going to avenge her sister, telling her to just do whatever it takes to win, to take him down. You're here for vengeance, right? You gotta fucking do it then, right? I thought that Shinobu was going to do much more damage to Douma. I mean, to be fair, she was poisoning him repeatedly, and it just wasn't working. I mean, it was working, but he was just regenerating. So technically it wasn't working. But my theory as far as her death, because Douma absorbed Shinobu, I think that Shinobu poisoned herself, and maybe as Douma ends up fighting later on, maybe we're gonna get a moment where it starts getting poisoned. And it's like, oh my god, I absorbed her. I think that maybe that's what's coming into play later. But until I see that, if I get to see that, the fact that she died that way was absolutely fucking insane. It generally just lets you know that this is not gonna be a fun arc. It's not. I genuinely was rooting for her, and the way that she died, her saying go to hell and Douma hugging the shit out of Shinobu and just crushing her shit. Oh my god, that was brutal. But yeah, Shinobu versus Douma was really good. I'm curious to see what Doma's gonna be doing for the remainder of this arc. This man is a fucking impeccable rage baiter. It's gonna be interesting to see his role moving forward, especially with the events that happens, Tanjiro Tomioka versus Akaza, which we'll get into later. Then we have, man, I was waiting for this. Zenitsu versus Kaigaku. The best way to describe this is just, I am vindicated, I'm validated, because obviously Zenitsu is not the most, I guess you could say, the most rootable character in the sense of how he might be a bit weird, you know, with the whole Nezuko thing and how perverted he is, or let's say more so like a womanizer, and how, like, you know, he's a scaredy cat and he's whiny and all that, right? But in the few moments throughout the series with Zenitsu actually pops off, even if he's like kind of like on you know, like and your sleepwalking type shit, I felt like there was more to Zenitsu than meets the eye. So I was a fan of Zenitsu even despite his flaws as a character, and I was waiting for the moment where Zenitsu would just pop off without the pretext or the context of, you know, oh my god, I'm sleepwalking, or oh my god, you know, I'm sleeping, so I don't have to be afraid because I'm not really, in quotation marks, conscious. All that shit gets fucking thrown out the window, especially because I read the Hashira training arc, and there's this moment where Zenitsu's like, I gotta find him, and it's just like, whoa. Like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on with Zenitsu? Why Zenitsu all of a sudden is serious? Like, what the fuck is going on? And then we get that moment of, like, he was a successor to, you know, the thunder breathing with Kaigaku. And because Kaigaku turned to a demon, Zenitsu's grandpa essentially killed himself. He did seppuku by himself, so he only stabbed himself in the stomach, and he died a slow death. So all that was really painful and rough. It was brutal. And Zenitsu, which he's the goofy character, for him to be this serious and passionate, it was a cathartic feeling for me as somebody who liked Zenitsu despite his flaws. This fight was just, even if it was not the most grandiose, even if there wasn't that much going on, this was just satisfying for me. This was satisfying. It really just gives into perspective really the fact that even the goofiest character that many people dislike, sometimes you just need to like take a quick little direction with said character and you have something much more compelling. You know what I'm saying? In that moment where Zenitsu gets validation from his grandpa and basically being told that he is his pride, it was such an emotional moment, you know, and him like coming to after the fight and him just crying. It was such a good moment. It was such a good moment. I really love that. Zenitsu and Kaigaku was really enjoyable for the fact that like we finally cut through the bullshit with Zenitsu and him, like, you know, attacking or sleeping and shit like that. No, Zenitsu was like serious here, and it was such a cathartic moment for me, and I definitely enjoyed that. Here is where we have the main event: Tanjiro and Tomioka versus Akaza. So far is the greatest fight in the entirety of Demon Slayer anime, and I don't think it's close. I really don't think it's close. Hinokami Kagura in season 1 feels like child's play to what the fuck we are in right now. The stuff with Tengen in season 2, as good as that was, I don't think it touches this. Speaking of Akaza, Akaza versus Rengoku was also great, especially because that was a movie. I don't think it touches this. There were moments in this fight that literally, the theater, because I went to see this movie around 12 p.m. so there was not that many people, thankfully, because, you know, some people can be obnoxious as fuck. Literally, there was a fight going on in one of the screenings of Demon Slayer, so that's why I didn't want to go at night. I wanted to go at a time where not that many people was gonna go, so I can have a peaceful time, and good for that. But literally, there were moments in this fight that literally we were gasping. We were like, holy shit, bro. That is how fucking insane this was. The portrayal of Tanjiro and how literally we go from Tanjiro being saved by Tomioka to then later on, after he ends up getting this new skill and ability, he gets so good. Not only he becomes Hashira level by Tomioka's own words, he literally saves Tomioka in this fight. It's actually fucking insane how much Tanjiro keeps growing and growing and growing exponentially when it comes to strength. I was so in awe at everything about this that truly I don't know what fight after this is gonna be able to touch this. Because this was the pinnacle of like Akaza's character, the pinnacle of Tanjiro's growth, especially because we get the moment with his father and whatnot. All these things explode into an incredible fight, finally getting to see why Akaza is the way that he was. We see his backstory, and I know that Demon Slayer, for some people, have this weird relationship with backstories, and it makes, you know, the demons too sympathetic, and people don't, you know, I get it. Like, some people want to say fuck you to a villain and not have to essentially be like, actually, you know what, I feel bad for you. I get it, right? But I really enjoyed Akaza's backstory. That was the moment where the movie, like, for a good portion of it, stops the action. It just puts it to a halt, and we finally get to see why Akaza detests the weak, why Akaza wanted desperately to have Rengoku join him on some like recruiting shit. He got recruited, basically like get the dojo. We see everything just connects with Akaza, and it just ends with such a tragic moment where just when he was about to basically start over, you know, and live an honest life by his father's words, he loses everything. And just like last time, he loses the people he cares about again, and he wasn't there. Just like when his father hanged himself, he loses the people he cared about by poisoning because of the jealousy of the dojo and the land. It's such a heartbreaking moment. I almost dropped tears watching this. That's how impactful this was. And we just see the violence. Because why would Akaza care at this point? He lost everything for the second time. And after he loses everything, that's where he meets Muzan. And he says himself he doesn't care anymore. It's such a phenomenal moment that I was just in disbelief at how good this was. And even though it took a while, my god, did that flashback paid off. And it leads to the ending of the fight. He attacks himself, calling himself the weakest person. Stop regenerating. And then he also like questions himself again, like, you know, like, oh man, like maybe I should just stop caring. But the moment Akaza sees her again, I forgot her name, but God, man, that moment was beautiful. The tears, the Akaza drop, the voice acting, all of that, the music, it was phenomenal. Tanjiro and Tomioka were like, oh my god, what are we watching? And they were so confused. Everything just came together. Both of them end up getting incapacitated. They basically like, they pass out. And that's easily one of the turning points for this arc, because we see Douma and we see the other demon, I forgot his name, with a bunch of eyeballs, and he used to be, I guess, a demon slayer, I would assume to be, because he has a sword. The reaction of everybody, that is gonna get carried over to the next movie. But yeah, man, this movie was really good. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to be able to wait for the second and third movie. I'm probably just going to read the manga. This made me a fan of Demon Slayer again, because I remember with season 2 stuff, me enjoying that content more than season 1. And after season 3, it felt like I forgot that I enjoyed / loved the series. And this movie really brought my love for it back. And I'm happy about that. Those are my raw, unscripted, probably scrambled thoughts on the Demon Slayer Infinity Castle movie, at least the first one. When I read the manga, since I'm going to read it, I'm going to, I guess, make a quick video talking about like everything post this movie. I want to know what you guys think about it. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this entire ramble, please hit the like and subscribe to the channel. And with that, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day wherever you are. See you guys in the next one.